Really disappointed, because what you see here is the deterioration of someone's marriage being used to the advantage of a network, being used to the advantage of others, all guys that's concern, or I don't even really know exactly what we're looking at here. But I would say that both Drew and Ralph are victims here in a bigger conspiracy that goes beyond them. You know, they were sadly, I think, unbeknownst to them, victims of something that is much bigger than them. And I don't think that it's just merely a Bravo issue. I don't think that it's just merely a Real Housewives issue. I think that it's a bigger cultural question right now that's been brought forth. Look at my other videos. It's been brought forth by the type of mentality and energy that Donald Trump brought with him when he brought into the office. We cannot look at things and not put everything in context. You know, one of the first key hallmarks of fascism and communism, and yes, I'm going there, but one of the first hallmarks of that is it's very slow and it's insidious. And all of a sudden, you'll just notice that there is a certain meanness. There's a certain meanness to everything. Everyone looks at everything as either you get in line here with this financial gain, you get in line here with this corruption or win at all costs necessary, or we gonna be real mean. You know, we're gonna be real mean. And I'm sorry, but I feel like Drew and Ralph, especially Drew, I feel like Drew has been very naive through all this. Didn't know that, listen, your marriage, whether you guys are supposed to be together forever, whether you guys are just, you know, supposed to divorce and move on, whether there's supposed to be some sort of karmic cycle that goes between you guys where you kind of go at it a few times before you really figure out what you want, whatever the course of action was supposed to be here, you need to realize that you putting it on blast in the world stage has been to other people's advantage. It has not been for your marriage, and it's not going to make any of the outcomes better, you know. And what I saw in this reunion, which I always see, but we live in this age where the good guys have become the bad guys and the bad guys have become the good guys, okay? A clear distinction between those two doggone couches. That couch with Shereé, Marlo, and Sanya on it, and that couch with Kenya, Kandi, and Drew. And there is even one point that I feel like where I feel like Marlo might have said, Drew, come and sit over here with us. You know, I just love Marlo because she really is real. But I've talked about it before on this channel. You know, I grew up in Atlanta. This show does not do a good representation of Atlanta. And I mean, I come from a very middle class, you know, working class background. But because of my academics, because of my background in art, I also was educated and sort of brought up around other circles of society in Atlanta. So I have been around these higher echelon societies, and Real Housewives of Atlanta is not a good reflection of that. Not in terms of diversity, not in terms of interests, not in terms of scruples and morals. It basically is like Slytherin versus Gryffindor, and if you got two eyeballs on your head, it's very easy to look at it. And I like to give a very clear metaphor to what is happening in my, even though I live in Europe, in my country of birth, what is happening right now in the arena of politics. Look at the Republican Party, look at the Democratic Party. You got some party that's still playing like this game is normal, like we're playing a normal game, and you got another party that is like all about personal gain, doesn't really care what they need to do to get there, and they're just gonna keep doing it. If you want me to give a very clear understanding of that, I mean, my heart broke when Ralph came on this stage, regardless of what my beliefs are. You know, like I haven't seen any clear proof that Ralph cheated. You know, Drew showed the picture on her phone, and Ralph disputed that and said that that was a catfish. So until I guess I see someone who was involved with Ralph come forward, I'm really not too sure. But at the same time, I don't think that Drew is a horrible person either. I think that she's validated in what she feels. But I'm not so fast to just sit here and butt my nose up in somebody else's marriage. Now, I want to remind you, Kandi's movie that Drew was basically gaslit into taking a role for, basically, there was this whole scandal about Drew kissing a girl, and then all of a sudden she's in a movie, Kandi's movie, where she's kissing a girl. Even Drew has spoken on that, okay? And that movie is now available to stream on Peacock. But anyway, beyond that, let me just ask you this. While Drew and Ralph are sitting here having this very, very public dispute about their marriage on camera, you know, on the other side of the table, on the other side of the seat, which Shereé was visionary with that friggin' little pamphlet. Shereé does not have as much money as Kandi. Maybe she does not have as much worldwide notoriety, but she still got her scruples. She still got her authentic personality. It's not she's just doing stuff to make money. She's one of those rare people who can make money, maybe not as much money as you, but make money just being themselves, you know. So anyway, that pamphlet aside, I want that She News pamphlet. Anyway, on the couch with Shereé and Marlo and Sanya, while Drew and Ralph are having what is the most painful interaction, most painful that I have ever seen in Real House history. I mean, I know I haven't watched all of the franchises, but still I've seen quite a few. This was the most painful experience that I had ever seen, and most painful at the expense of two human beings for the advantage of a network and some housewives and some individuals. Most painful thing I've ever seen. At the end of the day, these are not just public people, but public figures. These are real people, okay, with children. And their storyline is being used for views and clicks. And one day those kids are going to look at that. I think when Drew was yelling at Courtney and saying, one day my kids are going to look at this, I think she was taking her anger out on the wrong entity here. You should take your anger out on Bravo and the people who instigated this. Now back to the situation at hand. When that painful situation between Drew and Ralph was going down, the good guys, the good couch, which arguably Drew needed to be over in the good couch. She just don't know that she has been sitting in a bucket of crabs. She been getting pinched and stuff, but with every pinch they give her a little shot of like something, I don't know, Xanax, chloroform, but you get the idea. So she don't know that she getting pinched, but she just be getting pinched this whole time. This whole time that this is going on the couch with Shereé, Marlo, and Sanya. As me, I hardly smiled at any point during this reunion because it was so painful to watch real people going through these real things and having two brain cells to know that this is clearly all on the world stage just for clicks and revenue and a network and a handful of individuals. While you're watching this slow train wreck, feeling absolutely horrible for these people, at least me, and from my understanding or what I could see, Shereé, Marlo, and Sanya, no smiles. Just looking at this very intently, like this is very, very sad to watch. This is very serious. I want you guys to notice who's smiling. I want you guys to go back and look at that reunion, and while you're watching this clearly painful example of human suffering, you know, this is human suffering here. I want you guys to pay attention to who's smiling. I want you guys to pay attention to who's making light of the situation. I want you guys to pay attention to who tries to make the situation about them. That's all I'm going to say on that. I think the closest piece of painfulness that I've seen with that regard was with Phaedra and Apollo. Somebody was smiling while that was going down too. Somebody was taking somebody else's marriage really, really lightly and inserting themselves into that. It's not good. And it wouldn't be the first time that black people have sold out their sisters and brothers for a little coin. For a little coin. For a little bit more airtime. But that has so much more of a detrimental effect on the brotherhood, the sisterhood, the unity that we as African Americans are supposed to have. Because historically, if we don't have it for each other, nobody else is going to have that. And the enemy comes in many forms. The enemy comes with smiles. The enemy comes with what seems like concern. The enemy comes with what seems like game-changing opportunities for your growth and your family's prosperity. All right, y'all. I didn't want to break it down too much and take y'all to church, but I had to take y'all to church a little bit because, I mean, I really don't. It's getting to the point now where Atlanta is starting to disgust me. It's starting to disgust me. But a lot of stuff in the country that I was born in, what I think is the best country on the planet, what I think is, you know, a country that's brought us so many wonderful things that show the world about freedom and sisterhood and brotherhood and creativity and having a positive attitude, the transformative nature of having a positive attitude and working together and teamwork, people of different thoughts and beliefs and backgrounds coming together for higher goals. All those things that I believe in, innovation, ingenuity, entertainment. It's not just the Real Housewives of Atlanta. It is a bigger cultural question. We're watching so many things go down, and many people don't want to speak out on it. You know, the same way that Donald Trump, you know, like, again, I don't want to just sit here and pull everything back to him, but when you have what used to be politics, what used to be functional politics, functional civics, you know, start to slowly be replaced with fascism. Again, things just slowly start to get very mean across all boards, you know, across entertainment, across social security, across the way that the old interact with the young, the way that the young interact with the elderly, across parenthood, across education. I mean, everywhere. You see those effects everywhere. So, and what happens is those systems that have become accustomed to, we no longer operate in a functional way. We no longer operate in a way that is ethical or civic, or even just coming from a place of bare, pure human compassion, common sense, sisterhood, brotherhood, teamwork, freedom, diversity. When all those things start to go out the window, and it's like, we need to keep this person who is in power happy, so that this person who is in power can keep those powers that be happy, and basically anybody else who goes against that, even if they're doing the right thing, is enemy number one. When you work in those systems, stuff like this happens. Very, very sad to see. But anyway, otherwise, that's my thoughts on that. You know, even Drew with the breakup song. singing this breakup song in front of her children's father on national TV. And again, just take note of who is making light of that situation. Take note who is smiling. Take note of who is making that about them. Take note of who is being sarcastic. Take note of who is looking at this like this is a very, very serious situation. I also want you to notice that in that moment, Drew, after that moment, I'm sorry, Drew said that, yeah, that was probably one of the most awkward things that I've done, and something to the effect of, you know, and I'm paraphrasing here, obviously, something to the effect of, wouldn't have been my first choice to do it like that. So if it wouldn't have been your choice to do it like that, baby girl, who told you to get on national TV, pulling the whole world into this? Who told you to do that? Who told you it was a good idea? It's very sad to watch. It's very, very sad to watch. And will it stake Drew another season on the show? Maybe. You know, I hope so. I hope that at the sake of all of that, that she will at least get that remuneration. But if she doesn't get back on another season of the show, what will all of that have been for? It makes me want to cry. Would it have been worth it? Yeah, that's very, very sad to watch. I really love Drew, and I really like Ralph, you know. I feel like, again, there's some people in here who are seemingly on the outside very supportive of Drew, but who actually want to see their marriage fail because misery loves company. There's individuals where it's a misery loves company type situation, and then there's probably other individuals or entities where it's just like, hey, your suffering benefits these systems and these powerful networks, individuals, institutions, whatever. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. My advice, you know, like, and again, I've only been married for a year, like, actually less than a year. Our anniversary is coming up in November, but, you know, I do feel like, since I am American, but I live in Europe, and my husband's European, that, like, I've had a chance to be almost a fly on the wall of what's going on in my country, and things are not good. It's really, really not good, and it's across all types of arenas. And something that I've noticed is that Americans, in a way, kind of have lost their way home. They've lost that. For example, Drew talks about she cares about the sanctity of marriage. She actually says the sacracy. I think she meant to say sanctity. I'm not sure. But to care about the sacredness of marriage is really important. But I'm not claiming to be any marriage guru here, but it's also to, you know, if you look at some of those relationships that have stood the test of time, something that you'll notice is that those married couples kind of are always forever in that honeymoon phase, you know, in sort of a world of their own. And it's like a secret clubhouse that nobody else really gets to come into. And when you go on your honeymoon, if you're fortunate enough to be able to go on one when you get married, you kind of see that. You see some of that when you first meet and you're in that puppy dog love phase, you know, and you never ever want to be from around each other. Basically, in the most ideal of circumstances, I think in terms of love, is always trying to get back to that. You know, when you married the person that you married, yes, you married their family. Yes, you know, you brought other people into that situation, but the bond that you share really rests solely between two people, you know. So, yeah, that's very unfortunate. My advice, and I really do want to see Drew and Ralph work out the same way that Marlo and many of other people have echoed that, you know. And again, take note of the people who echo, hey, I want to see you guys work out, versus the people who, um, you know, really seem to either subtly be pushing for you guys to just call it quits, or, um, you know, are making light of it. You know, just take note of that. But um, my recommendation would be for Drew and Ralph to just find somewhere to knock off somewhere, you know, on their own. Just leave everybody else out of it, you know, and maybe there'll be laughs, maybe they'll be crying, maybe there'll be lots of humping. Who knows, you know, who knows what'll happen. But pull everybody else out of it. And from the very beginning, I always thought that Drew was just pulling these TV cameras and every facet of this whole reality show into her marriage. Don't do that. I hope that this was the lesson that was learned for Drew and for others to come. Don't do that. And even in our everyday lives as normal people, don't do that. You know, don't live your life out on Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or whatever it is. Um, just get it right between the creator and between you and your spouse, okay? And you follow it that way. You follow it that way. Put God first, put your spouse next, put your kids next, and then everything else falls into a place. And sometimes, you know, depending on any given day, those orders change. Sometimes you just need to give God your attention. Sometimes you just need to give your kids your attention. Say, baby, I'm going to come back later. Sometimes it needs to be your spouse. But I'm pretty sure TV cameras, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, living your life for all of those things comes way down the list, and it should. She by Shereé. I really hate to see this battle ensuing between Kandi and Shereé, but you get why it is. You get why that's happening. Like, I feel like Kandi, she seems to show herself as being insecure about her place, where she stands in all this. Girl, clearly you are a very accomplished businesswoman. You're an accomplished entertainer. Like, you don't have to lower yourself down to coming after people or anything like that. But at the same time, I feel like people like Marlo, Shereé, Sanya, they are looking for people like Kandi or Kenya to be like them, and they're not like them. You know, they're looking for them to be the people to really sit down with you, cry with you, hug you when something happens, good or bad. They're looking for you to be the people that come by, like Vicky Gunvalson says, with a casserole and sit and cry with you for hours, get drunk on margaritas with you if you need to. Somebody need to call a cab home. They're really looking for that authentic love, sisterhood, that closeness. But they're not going to get it from those people. The same way that I feel like individuals like Kandi and Kenya are looking from people like Shereé, Sanya, Shereé, Sanya, and Marlo to give that more PR type love, you know, to give that, this is going to look good for your brand. This is going to look good for your image. This is going to look good for your people. And that's not how those women are. Those women are motivated by emotions. I would love, you know, to maybe look at their background, their energy, their zodiac signs, their interests. Maybe they need to go to a Reiki healer. Like, I think Shereé was really on the right path when she took them to that trip to Portugal for energy healing, because, you know, people aren't the same. Not all people are the same. And I would recommend for some of them to get a therapist. I think some of them could really, really do very well with some therapy. Sanya and that miscarriage, man, I have been there before. I had a terrible, painful miscarriage where I also went through a very traumatic, like, medical episode. Like, oh, just a lot of blood, and I mean, I have been there, and so I know how that feels. And the fact that she got pregnant a month later, I just was like, oh my God, that's amazing. My husband and I unfortunately haven't gotten there yet, so I do hope that one day we'll be in that position. But she's so lucky, and I hope that she knows to put her concentration on the creator, put her concentration on family and the things that really matter, and don't be getting caught up in this drama and this BS. You know, yeah. And Marlo, mumbly Marlo, I love that she just kind of stayed out of all of this, because she was just like, I'm better than this. Boss move if I ever seen one. But I want to know what y'all think. Let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Bye.